Today we're making some lovely cinnamon cruffins. For our easy cruffins, I'm going to use some softened butter, icing sugar, ground cinnamon, and this just roll ready to use croissants. Now, if you can't find this particular brand, you can use any ready to use puff pastry that you can buy in your own supermarket. Okay, let's get started. Right, so I've unrolled my puff pastry. This is a croissant pastry, so you see it has these perforated lines. We're just going to ignore that. So in a little bowl, I'm going to add a good amount of icing sugar and a good amount of my ground almonds, roughly about equal quantities. I then mix those two together, and that's going to be my flavoring for my lovely cruffin. So I've got some melted butter here, which I'm now going to brush on. If your butter is a little bit too hard, you can warm it up a little bit in the microwave just to get it to be a spreadable consistency. Because if the butter is too hard and you try and spread it, it will break this pastry. And it's quite a delicate pastry because it's got all the layers of butter that you don't want to lose. So I'm giving it a good mix of the, a good coating of the butter. And now I've got this lovely cinnamon mix, which I am now just giving it a bit of a mix. So that's what it looks like. It's really a matter of proportion, so you want to make sure there's a good amount of, a good mix of the two in it. So it should look a little bit like that. Yeah, not too white. Then I'm just going to spread a little bit of it onto my pastry. So, yeah. We're going to coat the finish cruffins again with this mixture, so just a little bit, just to give it some flavor inside. Now here is where it gets a little bit interesting. We're now going to, I'm going to cut this in half again so I can make a few. So this is going to make me 4 cruffins. So the first thing we're going to do now is very, very carefully start rolling it. So we're going to roll it up nice and tight. So that's one. And then we're going to roll up the second one. So make sure that's nice and tight this way, and we roll this up. So keep it as tight as you can. Okay, and we have 2. So we have these 2 here. Then what we're going to do, I'm going to lay them out so they're a bit easier to see. I keep dusting my board so that my table, so it doesn't stick too much. Then I'm going to use a nice knife and cut it in half. So it's just going to cut it in half like that. Again, repeating here, we're just going to cut this in half like that. So there we are, and you can see, just be careful because it's quite delicate, you can see all the lovely layers. So then from there what we do, we're just going to lay them out in little rows. It doesn't matter if you give them a bit of a stretch, it's all good like that. Yeah. Then what I'm going to do is roll them into a little round shape like that. So I'm going to repeat here, just roll them into a round shape like that. So, and then when you've got the 4 all done, I'm just going to pop them into my lined muffin tray. Now I always try and make sure it's lined because of the butter and the sugar. I don't want the sugar to stick when baking, and so it's easier to do it when there is a liner, or you can make sure your tin is very well buttered, so it's up to you. So this is going to rest for about an hour before I bake it, and I'll show you just before I put it in the oven. So this has been rising for about an hour. I'm now going to beat together a bit of egg and milk. Just give it a nice beat so it's incorporated. And I'm going to just coat the top of my cruffin with just a bit of egg wash, so it has a lovely brown top. So it doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit. And this goes into a preheated oven at about 180 degrees for about 35 minutes, because it's quite a dense sort of dough. You want the inside to cook well, so it'll get nice and brown on the outside. So about 100, if your oven is quite hot, maybe about 170, but it does need at least half an hour in the oven. So I'll show you when it's done. And here we have my lovely cruffins just out of the oven. What I've been doing is I've been taking the cruffin while it's hot and just sort of dredging it in this cinnamon and sugar mixture. Just letting that be, and then, you know, just shaking off the excess a bit, dusting it off. You can see all the lovely layers of the lamination in the pastry. And here we have some lovely cruffins that we're going to enjoy for breakfast. Hope you try it and enjoy it too.